And that is the main objective for myself, really, to show the Islam in its reality. If you know your rights, then you can fight. They say, Quran said this and this and this in this matter, and Sunnah said this and this in this matter. They can't say no unless they are not Muslims believer.
There are more than 1.5 million Muslims in Britain. Some are forced into marriage, some suffer domestic violence.
This is not Islamic moral, or it's not Islamic law says that you force a girl or you put her under pressure until she say yes, and you have her permission, and you let her get married from anyone you chosen. By Islamic law, no one can hit a lady like leaving a mark, abused. No one can abuse a lady, a woman. No one. It's not permitted from Quran and Sunnah. My dear sisters, we should know our rights and their rights, and we should be forgiveness.
Women are the foundation of the family. They bring up the next generation. For the sake of the children and Islam, they must fight for their rights.
Our thanks to Lena Al-Naas for making that film. And with me in the studio is Farouk Siddiq of the Bristol Muslim Cultural Society and Roger Natman from the UK Independence Party, who's a member of the European Parliament. And joining us from his constituency in Gloucester is the MP Parmjit Danda, who's the government minister responsible for community cohesion. Well, first of all, Mr. Danda, do you agree that there is a perception that the government isn't doing enough to support Muslim women for fear of appearing culturally insensitive?
Well, I don't know. We get criticism both ways. A little while ago, we actually made some announcements about doing more to actually support Muslim women in their communities, to raise their profile, to provide media training. We were also criticised for going too far, for actually enhancing and supporting the role of Muslim women. I think that they've got a massive role to play, and it's nice to see and to hear from your coverage there that there are very many in the Muslim community that actually agree with that, and I think that's something that we want to tap into. And certainly with the work that we're doing with the Mosques and Imams National Advisory Board, we're actually trying to enhance the role of young people and women in the governance structures of mosques, say, but also the work that we're doing around media training too. It's very important.
Well, Farouk Siddiq, do you recognise the image that was portrayed in that film of women often being seen as effectively second-class citizens in some Muslim families?
Well, it's true. I mean, there's a major misconception about what Muslim women do and their rights within Islam. But I mean, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said 1400 years ago that men and women are as equal as the teeth of a comb. The only difference God sees is in your righteousness, is in your piety.
Then why do so many Muslim men appear to think differently?
Well, I'll give you an example. I mean, the rights you heard of with Lena talking in the film. We ask local imams to talk about women's rights in their sermons, in their Friday sermons. And rights, for example, when the husband and the wife get married, the woman does not take on the identity of the husband. She maintains her own independent identity. Men and women are allowed to work. Both men and women are asked to seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. When I work as a husband, my duty, we have different roles and responsibilities as a husband and wife. My duty is to...
But that's not happening on the ground, is it?
It's not happening on the ground.
That's the thing. Roger Natman, do you think that Muslim men get away with being more sexist, frankly, than other men in our society?
Well, that I don't know, but I understand that Muslim women sometimes get a bad deal, and I admire this speech on your programme. I just wonder how well it would go down in Iraq, Iran, Sudan or Nigeria, where the Muslims are in the majority, and there it's probably a very different picture. So I think when people come to this country, when in Rome, you do as the Romans do. And there's British law, and everybody should be subject to that. Women have rights, and the Muslim women should have rights as well.
Parmjit Danda, I mean, this ties in with the fury of the Archbishop of Canterbury's remarks about Sharia law. I wonder if the reaction was so strong because people are worried that they see Muslims maybe trying to create a state within a state.
Well, perhaps, but I think it's really important to remember that Rome wasn't built in a day, to take up what Roger Natman was saying here. We're all British. We all need to respect British law and British rights, but at the same time, all of us from all religions and all cultures play a part in British life, and collectively we decide British law, and that's what we agree to, and that's what we support. I think it's a little bit unfortunate the way some of the Archbishop's remarks have been interpreted. He's a deep thinker, I know that. And
he said Sharia law was unavoidable.
Well, I think perhaps the way he said things, it was inevitable that it was going to get interpreted in a way that was very, very negative, and people interpret Sharia law about people's hands being cut off and forced marriages and things like that, which obviously are things that people in this country find utterly repugnant and don't want to be a part of British life. Muslims don't want it to be a part of British life either.
Farouk Siddiq, I mean, do you accept that we're all British and therefore there should be one British law, or do you see room for Sharia law too?
There is one law. I mean, nobody's asking for a separate parallel system to the existing British law. What the Muslims, some Muslims, I mean, when you mention the word Sharia, the automatic thing that pops into somebody's head is the cutting off of the hands, the stoning to death, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that happens, doesn't it?
But that's not Sharia law. That's a completely separate set of laws, and that's called hudud laws. Sharia law would be something along the lines of, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit
But it's
adultery.
unlikely that British women would get a better deal, isn't it, under Sharia law?
Sharia law wouldn't apply to non-Muslims. The only ones that it would apply to is the ones that ask for it. I mean, at the moment, when the Archbishop said that Sharia law is unavoidable, in a way, he's correct, because some of it we're already doing. It's not that we're asking for a brand new system to be
Just one last question to Roger Natman. If we really are a tolerant nation, can't we tolerate some accommodation with Sharia law?
No, I don't think we can. We've got a single set of laws, which the Archbishop says is a dangerous situation. I think it's a dangerous situation if you have more than one set of laws, because then people don't know where they are. And I think that's caused a rumpus, and there's a difference between being unworldly and otherworldly, which I hope the Archbishop will take into account in future.
We have to leave it there. Thank you all very much indeed. Thank you. Now, they're holding a referendum on the EU treaty. Well, in part of Somerset at least. Protesters claim the treaty is paving the way to a European superstate, and they're angry that Gordon Brown is not allowing a national vote on the issue. So they've organised a referendum in the part of Somerset where they hope it will cause the most embarrassment. Paul Baltrop reports.
The message was clear.